gone by. My first week as a 39-year-old blogger. Here we go. It's going to be the best year of my life. So this week is about social media and what I'm calling the social media trap. And I say the as if there's just one social media trap when there are many, many. So there's one that I want to talk about today. It's been a really interesting week of navigating the social media world and thinking about things like what's appropriate, what's productive, what's worthy of engagement, what's a waste of time. How do we hold space for growth without creating chaos? All these questions and many, many more have been swirling around. And the thing I've been thinking about the most is the sharing of personal complaints and negative opinion in social media. So when is it appropriate in social media and when is it not? When are we hiding behind the screen? And when are we using the platform to launch ourself, to launch a community, to launch a global improvement? And it's just really interesting to think about. But here's what I keep reminding myself. It's the process that I use most when deciding what to write or not to write anywhere in the World Wide Web, but particularly anywhere in social media. And most of the time I stick to it, but occasionally I don't. And I wish that I had. So lesson learned. We all make mistakes. So there's 5 things really. The first one is, would I stand on a stage and share these thoughts with a room full of people? And in social media, everyone who has access is that room full of people. So if you have 100 followers, they are the room full of people. If you have 1,000 followers, they are the room full of people, because we don't know who's looking ever. So that's the first question I ask. The second question I ask myself is, would I walk into a party and give a speech about this? Or is it a conversation I might have with only a certain few attendants at the party? So is this something where I would stand up with my drink and toast to the party with this particular opinion? Or might I just have it in private conversation, sitting at a chair or a couch or in the corner of the room? And so in social media, the party are the viewers, whoever's following you. And the private conversations are what happen off social media, or perhaps indirect message in social media. So maybe something comes up on social media, and then we take that conversation offline where appropriate. And we have to start to learn where to do that and where not to. Another question I ask is, am I okay with this conversation being eavesdropped on? Now, this is interesting because in social media, all the people who read and don't comment, and there's lots of them, they are the eavesdroppers, right? And they don't say this in a negative way. Some people might call them Facebook stalkers. I know there's lots of them, and I love every single one of them. I love, love, love them. But I also don't know where they're going to take my thoughts. So am I okay with hearing my thoughts? With them hearing my thoughts, and then me having no voice to patrol what kind of game of telephone tag results from that. So the eavesdroppers, the Facebook stalkers, the people who are gathering information from all kinds of places, but tend not to comment, tend not to interact, for whatever reasons, some very, very good reasons. And I do it myself on certain posts. But am I okay with them carrying my thoughts somewhere else and I have no voice in the matter? Because we don't know, it's not just the people who are liking and commenting and sharing who are seeing our posts. It's a lot of other people too. The next question is my sharing somehow contributing to the greater evolution of humanity or the resolution of a problem? If yes, how? And if no, do I remain quiet or do I take the conversation offline? And the final question is, might my sharing hurt someone's feelings in a way that I may later regret? So just because it's social media doesn't mean there aren't consequences. There are. So if I saw this person whose feelings I hurt or who I offended or who I told my truth to, if I saw that person, would I be willing to engage in an actual conversation, or would I want to run and hide? So, am I writing something on Facebook that I'm not willing to talk about one on one in an actual conversation? So, those are my 5 questions. That's sort of the guide I use. Most people reading this probably didn't grow up with social media. I remember when I got my first email account, and my mind was totally blown that that was possible. Um, and my first cell phone was for safety in college because girls were being attacked. So it wasn't for browsing the web or for selfies. It's a really different world. And so we're learning how to navigate it. I noticed that our children, and this is an offset from my blog post, but I noticed that my children, they social media is really different for them. In some ways, really scary, and in some ways, just different. Just it's not scary, because they just have always had it. It's really normal for them. Is really different for us. And I think sometimes it's the older we get, the more inappropriately we use social media. And then it's actually the younger we are, the more we know how to use it appropriately. But of course, that's just in my observation in my teeny tiny world. Okay, so we're all learning, and none of us is perfect, but I do think we can all be a little more thoughtful, intentional, and loving as we navigate the social media world. And it doesn't just apply to how we interact with other people, but also how we treat ourselves as we use social media. So, are we setting ourselves up for failure or success? Who are we surrounding ourselves with? What's our goal in using the digital platforms? And these are just really important questions to ponder as you navigate the social media world. And the more clear we can be with ourselves about our why for being there and using the platform, the more clear we can be with others, and the happier place it is. I love social media. I think it's amazing. So here's another look at how I do this work through noticing a thought, questioning the thought, and then taking action. So in this case, the thought might be social media is overwhelming, because last week I really did feel like it was overwhelming. So then I ask, who does this thought belong to? And it belongs to me. It's part of my doubt. It's part of my fear. It's part of my insecurity. And then I ask, what purpose does this serve? And in triggering my insecurities, it's asking me to protect myself, right? So the thought that it's overwhelming is asking me to protect myself and consider what my next action a little more carefully. So it's like, hey, you're overwhelmed because you need to think about it a little bit more. And so then I ask, when am I ready to release this thought? And I'm definitely ready to release it now. I'd rather take action than indulge in overwhelm. That's just part of who I am. I would rather do than just indulge in that sense of overwhelm. That doesn't serve me. And then I ask, where do I need to put this thought next? And this time I'm just putting it aside because it may serve me again someday, but right now it doesn't. I'm ready to take action, so it's not serving me in any way that's useful. And then I wonder, why am I giving this thought power? I'm giving it power because it gives me an out a little. If I'm being honest, it can give me an out if I want to step away. Like, oh, Facebook's just too overwhelming. I'm going to step away. Or it can also maybe allow me to share something that I'll regret. It may allow me to make a mistake because I wasn't thinking thoroughly enough about it. So it's pretty powerful. Overwhelm is a powerful feeling to indulge in because it can lead us to things that we don't necessarily want. And then I ask how. So I ask, how can my why and or purpose lead me to the next action? And I have had the same why for 4 years now. It's been freedom. And after some intense journaling and self-exploration just recently, I've realized that my why has shifted. And I'm rolling with a new why. And so that's really interesting to me because I say to people all the time, my why's been freedom for 4 years, but someday it might change. And maybe I brought that on myself because it did change. I do encourage people when we do why work to stick to a why, but I stuck to mine for 4 years because it felt right, and now it's shifting. So my new why is growth. And bailing on social media or using it inappropriately does not feel like growth to me in any way. So growth asks me to look closer at my vision for using social media and my desire to connect. It also asks me to look at my love of community and resource sharing. And it reminds me that there's a time and a place for everything, and I need to be intentional and purposeful in everything that I share in social media. Growth also shows me where I can take my negative opinions and or criticism. So when I follow that process of asking those 5 questions, it helps guide me to where my thoughts do belong if they don't belong on social media. And it also, so it guides me offline when appropriate and keeps me there when useful. It also allows me to make mistakes because we all do and learn from them. So this work is everything, you guys. Keep doing it. Keep digging into your thoughts and your whys and your hows. I believe in you. And until next week, that's a wrap. My goal is your growth, so I hope this was helpful to you. Please do reach out and let me know. And remember that we can work one-on-one together in the 9-week Live Your Why coaching program. You can find a link to that on the website. You can also listen to our co-hosted podcast, Creating Wealth and Wellness, free on iTunes or here on the website. And if you're interested in building residual income, check out the Join Our Networking Family link. Until next time, keep doing that thought work. I believe in you.